Well, hello everyone, and welcome to my February book roundup, where I'm going to give you short reviews and ratings for the 11 books that I read this February. Being snowed in for a full week certainly helped the book total this month. I do 3 videos a month, so please hit like and subscribe, and hit the little bell icon so you can be ready for further content that I produce. My rating system is very simple. 5 stars means I loved it, 1 star means I hated it, and everything in between, including 0.5s. All right, let's start with the 3 books that I read on my Kindle this month. The first was called The Book of Eels by Daniel Svensson. My book club read this last month, and they enjoyed it a lot more than I did, so keep that in mind with my review and rating. It's a combination of kind of a historical picture of the eel, as well as the author telling stories of his eel fishing with his father. It was very well written, and I can recognize why people like it. It just really wasn't a book for me. So I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. The second book that I read on my Kindle this month was Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I almost DNF'd this one early, and I'm glad that I didn't because I really liked it by the end. Early in the book, she was just kind of bouncing around between a couple characters and a couple timelines, and it just didn't gain a lot of momentum. But when she stuck with just the main character about a third of the way through the book, it really got compelling, and I really enjoyed it. It's a book about secret magical societies at Yale University, and I'm looking forward to the sequel for this one for sure. Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, 4 out of 5 stars. The third book that I read on my Kindle this month was Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh. This is a kind of a classic that's flown underneath the radar, at least to me. But I really enjoyed it. The prose is fantastic. Reading this book and his use of the English language was a lot like, eating a meal by a master chef. If it weren't for a kind of an anticlimactic ending, I would have rated this one higher. But even so, I really liked it, and I gave Brideshead Revisited 4 out of 5 stars. All right, on to the physical books before you. We're going to start with Native Son by Richard Wright. This is easily one of the most thought-provoking novels that I've read in some time. That I can equally loathe and feel empathy for the main character, Bigger Thomas, is quite remarkable and a testament to how talented a writer that Richard Wright was. There's a reason that this is known as one of the most important works of African American fiction in the 20th century. I'm still honestly processing a lot of the themes in this book, and I think about it daily. I highly recommend Native Son by Richard Wright, 4.5 out of 5. All right, on to some classic science fiction. Read 2 works by Isaac Asimov this month, The Robots of Dawn and Robots and Empire. These are the last 2 books in his robot novels. The third book, Robots of Dawn, was like the first 2, in that it is really a detective story in a futuristic setting, and it details the detective partnership of Earthman Elijah Bailey with the robot Daniel Oliva, I always say it wrong, Oliva, and they're very good. They're not, mind-blowing, they're mildly thought-provoking, and I enjoyed them. I gave Robots of Dawn 3.5. Robots and Empire, however, is definitely a step above the rest of the robot novels. It happens 200 years later, so unfortunately our Earthman is dead, but it does have some characters in some previous books that are either long-lived or robots, of course, because they're the robot novels. But this also ties into his other series. He has an Empire trilogy, and then he has the Foundation series. And, before we had a Marvel multiverse, Isaac Asimov had one in his science fiction novels. I love this one. It was higher stakes than anything else. It dealt with a plot to destroy the Earth, and it was riveting from beginning to end and was definitely the best of all of the robot novels. Robots and Empire, 5 out of 5. All right, on to The Chronicles of Amber by Roger Zelazny. This is the omnibus edition. It's a 5-book series that was written in the 1970s and is a great work of classic fantasy. I'm reviewing them together because it's essentially one big tale told in 5 parts rather than 5 separate novels that have, satisfying conclusions and so forth. But I was really blown away by this series. It got better and better and better. I appreciated how well he could build worlds in such a small, volume. And this is one that I just hold the highest regard for this series. I thought halfway through this series that if I ever wrote a book, I think I'd want it to be like this one. I love The Chronicles of Amber. I think it's classic fantasy that if you like this genre, there's more than just Tolkien. I highly recommend Chronicles of Amber. 5 out of 5. All right, and this monstrosity is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 1 of his Stormlight Archive, which is a planned 10-book series of which he's written 4 so far. And this is modern fantasy, and just to put it very briefly, this is probably the best first book of any book series I've ever read. Hey, this is Editor Josh here. I kind of rambled on about Way of Kings, so just to put it briefly, it has a great plot. It focuses on character. It doesn't focus a lot on world building, just kind of the broad strokes of the world, but I really loved it, and I really look forward to the rest of this series. And I gave The Way of Kings 5 out of 5. All right, so that's my February book roundup. Story of the month I'm going to give to The Chronicles of Amber. So a little sneak preview to next month. I'm currently reading Words of Radiance, book 2 of the Stormlight Archive, which is even bigger than book 1. I'm planning on reading some Kate Atkinson, which I mentioned in my favorite authors video that I wanted to read more of her this year, so I have 2 on the shelf in there. And I'm also planning on doing a reread of The Road by Cormac McCarthy. So I'm looking forward to that and more. And you can look forward to that and more if you hit like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. I do one-sentence book reviews there, or you can interact with me on Goodreads as well. Thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.